At probiotics, it's very, very important to realize that the properties that apply to one strain do not necessarily apply to another strain, even if they have the same name. So a mistake that people often make is they go into a store, they take a probiotic and read Lactobacillus acidophilus on the label. They take another probiotic and they also read Lactobacillus acidophilus on the label, and they assume that these products are the same. But it doesn't have to be the case. Now personally, I find probiotic bacteria quite difficult because they have difficult names. So therefore I like to compare them to people. And as you can see in this slide on the left hand side, you see Messi. And I'm sure that most of you know that Messi is a very good football player. If you Google him, you'll find endless pictures of Messi, but if you Google very carefully, you will also find the Messi on the right hand of the slide. And though I haven't checked, I'm sort of assuming that he's a pastry chef and not a football player. So that shows you that they are both called Messi, but they have different properties. And the same is true for bacteria. They can have the same name, but they can still have different functional properties. And I'd like to show you that in this graph. Here you see different bacteria. And at our company, we look at the DNA of the bacteria. And if the DNA of the bacteria is different in functional areas, they get a different number. So if we look at this slide, it's quite a simple experiment, and we look at the inhibition of Candida albicans. And as you can clearly see, the Lactobacillus acidophilus W22 is very well able to inhibit the growth of Candida albicans. However, the Lactobacillus acidophilus W55 is not at all able to inhibit the growth of Candida albicans. This shows you that these bacteria can have the same name, but that doesn't mean that they have the same properties. In this case, one can inhibit Candida albicans, the other can't. I am a firm believer of multi-species probiotics, and I'll explain to you why. As with humans, there's not one strain that can do all. Some strains can do some things very well, but others not. And I think if you combine different strains with different functionalities, that you can have a higher efficacy. Again, we look at the football players. You can only select Messi in your team, 11 Messis. Then do you have the optimal football team? I think not. Probably it's better to select different players with different properties. So when you can combine properties, you'll have a higher efficacy. Also, when we look at literature and when it's possible to compare multi-strain with multi-species probiotics, we see that multi-species probiotics are more effective. It's shown in a few papers that you can see on the left hand of the slide. But sometimes it's also shown in meta-analysis. On the right hand of the slide you see a meta-analysis of probiotics for the prevention of Clostridium difficile associated diarrhea. And I'd like to take you to the bottom of the slide because in this specific meta-analysis they made a distinction between single-strain probiotics and multi-strain probiotics. So probiotics that contain only one strain, they're monostrain probiotics, and probiotics that contain several strains, they're multi-species probiotics. And as you can clearly see, both types of probiotics are effective against Clostridium difficile associated diarrhea. However, you can clearly see that the multi-species probiotics are more effective than the